was first of all, God is no respecter of person. So it's my book signing today. Y'all's coming up. So this is, I don't even know how God picked me. I can't even spell good. So, I don't know how this happened for somebody like me, but God is so good. And like I said, he's no respecter of person. But in 2018, I was at Stephen Furtick's church in North Carolina, Elevation, in college. And I was like, God, where's my man? I think it's about time. And I heard Stephen Furtick say, whatever you want, you need to sow, which is a principle of the earth, which is a principle of God. Like, if you want something, sow it. And so I said, okay, God, how do I sow something like that? I can't sow a man. And God was like, just still talking to me literally during that service. And God was just like, you have all this knowledge, because like where your burden is in life, like the demographic of your burden, like for example, some people feel called to homeless people, some people feel called to children. Wherever that burden is, you probably had it since you were a child. That's where God is going to use you. That's your purpose. And so I've always had like a heart for helping my single friends along, my friends who've gotten married in relationships, just helping them, giving advice, things like that. And so God was like, start a small group on your campus. And so I started a small group. This was 2018, called Single and Saved. And I had about 10 sessions. And when I started my first session, God was like, I want you to write everything out on an outline. I was like, God, I just kind of want to spit from the dome. Like, I just want to like free flow. I don't really want to write stuff out. And God was like, write it out on an outline. So like it equated to about 10 meetings, and then I had to stop for internship. And then that was that. Fast forward 2020, I just moved to Tulsa. I'm writing children's books. That's where I feel comfortable, because the thought of a chapter book really scared me. Like I said, just the thought of all that. And so I do want to speak to this really quick. If anyone is interested in like writing, I will say, like, don't worry about writing, rewriting, and how it reads, the editing. You're not an editor, you're a writer. So just write, and then the editor will find your voice. The editor will help you iron things out. Because for me, I would write and then erase it, write and erase it, and that imposter syndrome sets in, and then you just feel like you're not capable. God told me to pull out the first outline, which was called Singleness, Maximizing Singleness, and he just told me to expound on it. And so I started to expound on it, and I was like, why are we doing this, God? And then he said, okay, get out the second meeting that y'all had. Why are we doing this, God? Are you trying to write a book on me? And God was like, yes, we're writing a book. And this, like I said, this was 2020. And it just kind of went from there. So for a couple of years, I've been on and off writing it. Like I said, that imposter syndrome sits in, like, who am I? There's this verse in Chronicles, 1 Chronicles, I think it says, God, who am I, and what is in my house that you have brought me this far? And this is but a light thing for you. And so, God, who am I that you would do this for me? Hello. Who am I that you would do this for me? And so, it just kind of started from there. Fast forward 2022, top of the year, I'm like, okay, God, again, where's my man? I think it's time. And God's like, what's the last thing I told you to do? And I said, well, finish the book, but I mean, I know you're not tripping on that. And then a few months passed, and I'm like, okay, God, where is he? And God said, what's the last thing I told you to do? And I said, well, write the book, but okay, I'll write like a page or so. Is that gonna satisfy you? A few months later, what's the last thing I told you to do, Kayla? Finish the book. Come October, I was still at Transformation Church preparing for the Virgin 2 conference. And someone prayed for a finisher's anointing. And I swear, like literally after that intercessory prayer meeting, I was able to finish the book. And it was done. And then came the cover. I said, God, I'm not an artist, but I will draw you something. Just please don't make me pose for this cover. I don't want to be on it. It's just like for the world to see all of my face. I don't want to be on this cover. And God was saying, he was just basically talking to me saying, like, there has been a hovering of insecurity that you will break if you pose for this cover. And I was like, God, that's a lot. Like that's a lot. And so I did. And then I said, okay, God, but I need some new clothes. I was about to check out on Amazon with my 22-inch, 26-inch weave. God said, I want you to wear your natural hair. And I'm not saying it's anything wrong with weave, because on my next book cover, I'm gonna have that 26-inch. But God was just saying, like, I want you to be you on this cover. This is your legacy. This is the first one. And I said, okay, God, show me. So he showed me in my closet, allowed me to put something together. God is a creative. He created us. He allowed me to put something together that I was able to see it in a new light. And then my hair, I said, God, my hair it never looks good. And God said, you never asked me how to do your hair. I said, oh, I mean, you did create me. Why have I never asked you how to do my hair? And so, y'all, I said, so God, what's the secret to liking my hair? He said, just braid it every night. Just put it in 2 braids every night, Kayla. That's all I'm asking you to do. And so for a week straight, I put it in 2 braids, and I began to like my hair. It looked elongated. It just looked better. And I was like, oh my God, what a concept. Asking the creator of my hair how to do my hair. And so, yeah, and just the verse that really stuck with me was the verse about him dressing the lilies and him providing for the animals and the flowers. Like, how much more will he provide for us? And so that's how this book cover came to be. Very uncomfortable, but I'm confident that I have broken the spirit that was dwelling over me of the insecurity of not wanting to put myself out there. To think that God wrote this book for everybody else, but not me. I said, oh, I'm good. I'm maximizing well, God. I'm actually a professional waiter. So I've been waiting well. I'm good. I experienced something, and God said, you need to read chapter 4. And chapter 4 is called Know Yourself, Know Your Worth. And God said, we've been creating these boundaries, these standards for 25 years. And just like that, you allowed them to just leave. And you allowed yourself to just got myself in a situation. And so God had me literally reading chapters of my book again, and speaking to me through that. So like I said, it was just really funny how I thought this book was for everybody else, but he really wrote it for me for such a time as this, for this part of my singleness. So yeah, that is kind of the story of how this book came to be. So I will go ahead and read the first chapter. But first I'm going to start with the dedication. God, my friend, my first love, I could recite the password to our secret place, Psalms 104 message version, which is enter into his gates with the secret password, thank you. 1 billion times, and that would never be enough. So I vow to show you things with the way I live my life. To the one whom my soul already loves, I don't know you, yet I already love you. I don't know you, yet I thank God every time I think of you walking this earth. Your heartbeat is subconsciously my favorite hymn and the cadence of my steps. I think every life experience you've had because it will lead you right to me. God has anointed you to be your bride and you to be my bridegroom. He has been preparing us for this union all our lives. I am confident you and I already dwell under the same star, and my heart is full knowing that one day soon we will dwell together. To my season of singlehood, thank you for the tears, thank you for the love, thank you for the growth, the knowledge and wisdom, thank you for the contentment, thank you for the journey, thank you for pushing me closer to the Father. Even when we part ways, the time we have spent together will always hold a special place in my heart. Upon the ending of our season together, may I never see you again.
Amen.
It's called singleness. Singleness is unapologetically and without consideration taking the last piece of cake. Singleness is having all the closet space to yourself. It's spending your Saturday doing what makes you happy and not having to think about another person. Unfortunately, singleness is also answering the never-ending questions. Have you found someone yet? With the side of, you're great, how are you still single? And a fan favorite, you're just too picky. If it weren't for these questions and a few others about your current relationship status, maybe singleness wouldn't be so bad. But alas, we live in a fallen world where people don't think before they speak. Oftentimes, this world idolizes marriage and the idea of marriage, but neglects the same energy towards singleness. This, in turn, makes singles feel as if there's something wrong with them, or even pressures them into relationships just to achieve the status of taking. From random children at the grocery store to the IRS, everyone wants to know your current status. It's exhausting, really. As if these statuses will be the barometer of which God judges us come that fateful day. Or as if